Hey, y'all, it's Letitia with Light Novel Letitia, and we're here for our weekly recap of The Family Business, Season 6, Episode 6, and this episode is entitled Only a Duncan Can Kill a Duncan. Now, we're at the crime scene of Juan, who is still laid up on the floor, which I was highly upset about because he is so powerful. Why in the world is he still laying down on the ground like some common criminal, some common hood? Where are his people? Anyway, Thomas is there investigating when Kendra walks in. Now, I knew she was going to be called to the scene when she got that call last week. Okay, so he welcomes her back to homicide, and she starts talking about the fact that this could be gang related. But anyway, he leaves her off with the case in order to, he releases the investigation to her. Now, at the reception, Senor Cruz does a toast to Consuela and Juanito. Everybody is cheery. And Chippy does a little bit of a quick reminisce about the fact that she used to work in a place like this. And Senor Cruz was like, that was a long time ago. Like, don't even go there. Don't go down the memory lane. And she's like, you're right. It was a long time ago. Next thing you know, they announce that the bride and groom has arrived. But child, suddenly a very frazzled Nevada comes in and he delivers the terrible news about Uncle Juan. Ramon comes in with a crying Consuela who is covered in blood. She falls to her brother Marcos, which is Senor Cruz, and he is shocked. Trying to console her, and he's angry, yelling at Ramon, "Where were you? Where were you?" And Ramon just walks away in shame. Child, Donna is smoking a blunt, talking about high sex is the best sex. Child, first of all, aren't you in recovery, ma'am? Anyway, Junior calls with an accusatory tone asking if she knew. Now, of course, she got a stank attitude right off the bat. Like, did I know what? Did you know that our people were going to take out Juan, meaning the Alliance? She was like, huh? Girl, if you can you can hear. So she was like, well, I mean, it was discussed, but I thought that after the last meeting that they would at least run it by you first. And so he was like, what do you mean? He said he was my godfather. And she was so callous in her response, talking about, well, I mean, what difference does it make? It wasn't your daddy or your precious brothers. Child, she did not care. She was like, well, he gone now, basically. And he was like, okay, you know what? F the Alliance. I'm done. She was trying to appeal to him like, no, you can't leave. You can't just quit. You are the Alliance. And he's like, no, you may have a lot riding on this, but I don't. And he was like, plus, they don't listen to me anyway. And so she was like, well, you already know who's undermining your authority. So stop whining and go handle your business. So he says, I will. And he hangs up. And she was like, oh, this MFer is blowing my high. Next thing you know, she turns around talking about oh, hey, baby, I heard you did really good today. And we see a semi-reflection of the man that she is messing with. Now, y'all know we've had this discussion on the live. If you go ahead and watch the panel discussion. But at first I thought it was going to be Aries, but it looks and sounds like Rob. Now, we don't have a full confirmation yet, but once we do, this is going to be very terrible news because I'm going to be highly upset about that. I mean, the disloyalty to the Duncan family. I mean, he basically is like family. Like, come on, Rob, are you serious? Why would you do this? Anyway, he sounded like Rob. He had a bald head like Rob. So I really think that it's most likely him. And I'm just like, child, it's going to be hell to pay for that betrayal. Now, moving on. At the Oasis, the triplets are having shots and winding down for the evening. And Paris asks Rio if Roman could actually be trusted. And Rio's like, of course, like, yes. He said, plus, I trust him way more than I trust Junior right now. She said, okay, that's true. But even though Roman explained the Darnell and the Bobby situation, she claims that there's just something about him. But y'all, Paris's instincts have never been on point. I mean, because remember when she thought that Miguel was the op and he wasn't, and she unalived him? That was Alejandro's son. And then remember when she said Alexander Cora was responsible for Sasha being missing and ultimately unalived? That was not the case either. So her instincts are always off. I do not trust that. And I can understand maybe her being a little skeptical, but her instincts are not, well, ain't nothing wrong with Roman, except he don't really know y'all like that. Anyway, so at that point, Chippy calls and verifies that they're all there and told them that Uncle Juan has been unalived and that they need to come on right now and make sure that they are packing. So they pick up their stuff and they go. Now, Junior is meeting with the Alliance at the table, and he asks them directly about Juan. Antonio says that he was part of that decision to take out Juan to get retribution for Dominique. Now, Junior was like, I did not authorize this. And Antonio said, we took a vote. We didn't need your authorization. And the decision was made. Now, Junior snatches him up on the wall and everything to the point where Rocco about to pull out, he pulled out his blicky, and Antonio had to call off Rocco. He said, I told you to let me handle this. And Antonio was like, listen, that was my woman. I had to do it because otherwise I would look weak in front of my men. What would you have done if they had done that to your wife? And I'm sitting here like, first of all, Dominique's whole husband, Alexander Cora, is sitting right there at the table. Him talking about his woman and all this other kind of jazz. I was like, Alexander, stand up. Ugh. Anyway, so then Junior asked, well, why Juan? And Antonio was like, well, you told us we couldn't touch any of the Duncans and we needed to hit them hard. Juan handles the foreign distribution for the table. So at this point, they're going to have to halt production and we could step in and take over. So it was a business move. And Junior had to tell them and reiterate to them that even in pain, L.C. Duncan can run rings around all of them and handle all of this. And he can guarantee you right damn now that L.C. is plotting to take them all out. And I know that's right. Okay. And Alejandro, you of all people should know better. So he told them, he said, get your house in order. Oh, do it today. Get your house in order. Do it right away. For Elsie is coming. No man knows where or when. I had to go back to the Negro spiritual because Elsie is plotting and they don't know when he's going to come out of the woodworks. But Junior was like, y'all better get y'all affairs in order. Period. So he leaves and Alejandro confirms that basically Junior is speaking the truth. Taking out somebody like Juan is basically declaring war. And he was like, asking Antonio, like, what happened to our plan? And Antonio says, well, it appears that the plan has changed. So the alliance is falling, it's just falling apart at the seams. And I'm sitting here like, I know Alejandro has to be hurt behind Juan because I don't think he knew anything about the fact that the alliance or these folks, Antonio, was going to take out Juan, because Juan, Alejandro, and Senor Cruz and Marcos, they were all comrades or compadre from way back. So I know he's hurt behind this one as well. So ain't no way. And I'm just like, the alliance, y'all just full of folks who don't know what they're doing. And unfortunately, I feel like they're all going to have to be taken out. But let me just be very clear too. I really like Alejandro. And I don't think that he is with all this other stuff that they do in I think he just wanted to get a little revenge because of the situation with Consuela, but I don't think he really wanted to be away from the table like that. So I hope in some rare act of grace we can get Alejandro back at the table, but you can get rid of everybody else at the alliance, including Donna. Moving on. Now, child, why is Sonia and Junior they're in the parking lot at Juan's funeral. And Sonia is trying to convince him, baby, this is not the time or the place. I know you want to pay your respects, but you know what the people in this room are capable of. And, emotions are high right now. It's just not the place, not the time for you to do this. If you go there, people won't be honoring his memory anymore. They're just going to be distracted by the fact that you're there. And then they're going to take away from, Juan's memory. So finally, he listens to his wife and he decides they can go ahead and leave, child. Meanwhile, in the funeral, everyone is there paying their respects and comforting and inconsolable Consuela. I mean, Chippy, Dimitri, Detroit Red, everybody's hugging her, Nevada holding her and everything, and she is just crying her eyes out. And I'm telling you, this is the calm before the storm. She crying and everything right now because once those tears dry up, baby, the revenge she is going to take. Woo! Child. So then Uncle LC goes up to speak on behalf of his brother, business partner, confidant, and talks about the fact that Juan had saved his life. And while he's talking, we see them pan to Dr. Lomax, who was tending to little O, and he tells the nurse to call Orlando immediately to tell him to come. And just as the eulogy is about to start, Orlando gets the call from the hospital to tell him to come. And he and Aunt Chippy go to see about the baby. Now, Dr. Lomax says that the experimental treatment isn't working and the only other option is a bone marrow transplant. So they searched the nationwide database and they only know of one, and he was surprised that they weren't a family member. So Orlando insists that the doctor finds the donor. But the doctor was explaining that it was an anonymous direct donation, and due to policies and HIPAA laws, they're not listed in the database. They're not able to get it, blah, 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 blah. Because that's all Orlando is hearing. The doctor was like, we can't do this. There are no guarantees. And Orlando was like, all you doing is this, and all I want you to do is go find that donor. He said, you talking about no guarantees, but there's no guarantee that I'm not going to crash out on your ass if you don't go and find that donor. Okay? Do your job. Find the donor. So Orlando leaves and Chippy is crying. She cries out, enough, because their family at this point has had enough. So we know that the donor is most likely, I'm thinking the donor is most likely going to be Roman. But some of the folks in the chat think that it might be Ruby's brother Randy, who honestly, y'all, I thought he was gone. I thought he got taken out back in, season 1 or 2? So, but anyway, the ongoing thought is that, or my first thought is that it's going to be Roman because he did give that direct donation when he was looking to be a match for Margaret. But we shall see what happens next. Now, Junior goes to visit Harris, who's been in hiding all this time. And Harris was like, oh, are you here to finish the job? Junior was like, if I wanted you gone, you would have been gone already. I came to talk to you because you're the only man that I know that had to unalive his father. And I think that I'm going to have to unalive mine. Child. Next thing you know, at the repast, London and Devin, a.k.a. LoJack, pull up and arrive at the repast at the Duncan mansion. And they walk in and the triplets notice immediately. Rio and Roman already knew about their love affair, but Paris did not, and she was shocked, child. She goes to confront them, pissed off, and London reminds her, she's like, I'm the big sister, and you ain't never been able to whoop my tail, child. They started arguing. Uncle LC had to come over and break up their argument, and London told Uncle LC that Paris was being disrespectful to her partner. So she is claiming this boo. She done brought him to the house now. This is who she is dating. Anyway, Paris is screaming about the fact that he's a snitch and he shouldn't be there. And London told him, listen, you can't tell me who to date. I ain't never stopped the tramp parade that comes around your way. I was like, ooh, shade. Okay. He was like, y'all better shut up before I act up, because this is not the time. So Paris walks off. London apologizes to her daddy and then apologizes to LoJack about, what has just transpired. But he was like, listen, I didn't really expect to be accepted anyway. I'm just here to support you. So Uncle LC goes to talk to Chippy and ask her for an update about little O, but she's like, this is Juan's time. And he blames himself for Juan's death. saying that he will never forgive Junior. He should have been talked to him before now, so he truly believes that Juan's blood is on his hands. Child, the Alliance is sending him a loud message that he now hears and he now understands. So basically, like, they're gonna need to tread lightly because he's getting ready to make some big moves. Woo! And speaking of which, Uncle Larry is back. He walks up with Aunt Nene and Curtis and gives Uncle LC his condolences and says some kind words about Juan. Now, he said he needed to talk to Larry, so they go someplace a little bit more private. And he told him that Junior is the one who unalived Juan. He was like, yo, fat Junior. Child, uncles and aunts for you, child. Anyway, he tells them a story about the fact that Junior is not happy with them right now because he found out that Donna was his mother and he turned on his family. And Uncle Larry is in disbelief. And Uncle LC said he's at a crossroads right now. So he said, remember when you said that only a Duncan can kill a Duncan? So Larry painfully remembers this. And Uncle LC asked him to do the unthinkable, to unalive Junior. Because he just can't do it himself. He wants to, but he can't. He can't ask anybody else and none of the kids or anything like that to do it or any strangers to do it. It has to be Larry. Now you can see that Larry is visibly and audibly bothered by this request. He was like, are you sure? He wasn't sure. He said he doesn't want LC to hate him or resent him for the rest of his life. He was like, and we just got cool again. And he was like, no, I really need you to do it. It'll be a favor to me. And Uncle Larry does agree because only a Duncan can kill a Duncan. And child, I was like, so he is using his own words against him. Remember, he was going to unalive Uncle LC using that same logic. And now Uncle LC is turning it on him. I need you to use the same logic and unalive his son, Junior. Child. So Uncle Larry says, I got your back. And they both painfully pat each other on the back. Now, Harris and Junior are having basically like a brother-in-law moment and smoking on cigars. And Harris admits that it wasn't his choice to unalive Sal. And that was Uncle LC's call. And it was for some penance that he had to pay for some disloyal stuff that he had done previously. And he was like, you already know this. So Junior tells him about the Alliance, what has happened. He wanted to be a leader. He wanted his family to see him as a leader. And so he started making moves, and he told them about the $140 million heist. He said he thought it was a power move, but then bodies started dropping. And Harris is shocked at the bodies. He was like, well, how bad is it? He was like, Brother Minister, Dominique, and now Juan. Now, he was so like beyond shocked. He was stunned behind the one thing. He was like, I don't think you can come back from here. So wonder you out here walking around alive right now. So, and then he said it gets worse. That the Alliance also tried to kidnap Vegas, and that, and now the great LC is coming after him. Child, Junior get to crying, talking about some, he gonna be a father in a few weeks, and he just want to see and hold his baby girl, and he not going out without a fight. Now he has to come to terms with doing the unthinkable because he wants to be there for his child. Now Harris said, now once you pull the trigger though, he said that when he pulled it for Sal, not only did he lose his dad, he also lost a piece of him. So he said, if you decide to take out LC, you can't take it back. There's no turning back, and don't fool yourself about the aftermath. You fight for yourself and your daughter, but never lie to yourself about what it's going to truly cost you. Child. Woo! Now Larry takes in this info that he just got from Uncle LC, takes a deep breath, and he is like, just taking a deep breath outside of the room when he is spotted by Aunt Nene and Aunt Chippy. And Aunt Nene was like, I hope they didn't just get into it. And Chippy was like, no, it's not that. It's about Junior. Oh, well, what did Junior do now? And she was like, he won't be doing anything anymore, alluding to the fact that they're going to have to take him out. She said that her and LC had gone back and forth all night long, but basically Junior made his decision. He chose for himself, and she has 6 other children to care for. So Nene tried to console Chippy, and she said, well, what does Larry have to do with this? Child, you can only guess, right? So then Rio is making rounds with Roman, and he introduces Uncle Larry to Roman. They exchanged pleasantries and everything. And so he said, oh, okay, yeah, I heard a little bit about you. Happy to meet you. So you're a Duncan? And here's Roman. I guess so. He said, either you are a Duncan or you're not. Ain't no MNF guessing to it. Choose wisely. And he walked off, child. And here go Roman. Oh, this Duncan thing is serious, isn't it? Yes, Roman. Yes, it is. It's very serious. So Rio explains Uncle Larry is certifiable and to stay on his good side, child. Now, Junior is walking back to the 721 Donna's house, and he looks around before walking in, and when he comes in, he's looking for Sonia. Now, we see a drink that's on the table, and we hear Uncle Larry's laugh as he turns around, pointing his blicky at Junior. How you doing, nephew? He said, don't worry about your wife. She's tied up right now. Literally, she was hog-tied in one of the bedrooms, and she's gagged as well. So, he said, do me a favor. Slide that blicky over to me. And I've been hearing some really troubling stuff about you. You stealing money. You unalive wine. And when Junior tried to protest, he was like, all the blood is on your hands. You never knew how to stay in your lane. You're not LC Duncan. You're Junior goddamn Duncan. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, you walked away from your family for a taste of some BS power. You greedy, selfish, funky foot effer. Uncle Larry had all the words and all the smoke for him. Junior out here whining, talking about something. You don't know what the family did to me. They lied. They overlooked me because I wasn't her kid. He was like, who told you that lie? Everybody... excuse me. He said everybody can't be generals out here. Some of us got to be soldiers. And they saved you from that heifer you over here running around town with. Donna was out here drugging and abusing herself. And when they saw one bruise on you, Chippy and LC took you away and never gave you back. And he said LC even barely had to pay her. And then she went off and started a whole family. Without you, Junior. She never cared about you. You turned on the family. So do Uncle Larry a favor. Get on your knees, put your head down, and close your eyes. And then he put that blicky to his temple. And that was the end of the episode. Child. Do y'all think Uncle Larry is actually going to take out Junior? Personally, I do not. But they may have to stage this in order to save the entire family. Whew. But make sure you join us every Sunday evening for the live panel with the crew. So we us to talk about the new episode. And don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, holla.